Welcome to bonus episode number 1, Construction Nation. This is Sue Dyer, your host of Construction Dream Team. Today, we're going to do something a little different. This time, I am going to be sharing with you some ideas and concepts in a masterclass so that you and your team can learn a few more concrete things maybe you can put into place. And I thought it was important to do this one now because as you've listened to some of the episodes, you find that a lot of times we're talking about leadership. And I've been having people ask questions like, well, why are you talking about leadership? You're supposed to be talking about creating a dream team. And in my head, it's like, well, how can you create a dream team if you don't have a good leader? And I think it's really such an essential thing and a point that we need to make that I thought that we would take this special bonus episode to talk a little bit about leadership and why it's so essential and a little bit more about maybe a different perspective of looking at leadership. So, for years, I have worked with literally thousands of different project teams and seen many different leadership styles and many different leadership approaches. So you begin to see what sort of works to create a team that is high performing and maybe just really jazzed and having fun and innovating and creating exceptional results. And my definition of leadership might be a little bit different than what you're used to thinking about. Most people think of a leader as someone who has authority or position or status. They're the person in charge. My definition is that a leader is someone who has followers. And following is 100% voluntary. So no one is going to follow you if you're not a leader that they feel like they can follow. And by definition, if that's the case, no matter what kind of status or position you have within your team, you're really not a leader. And so we'll talk more about that too, leadership versus management a little bit later. But leadership is essential. And leadership is not about authority. It's about people who trust you. And they want to follow you. They believe in what you have to offer, and they're willing to follow. And leadership is not just needed at the top of your organization or at the top of your project. Leadership is needed all the way through your entire team. Every level and every person really needs to become a trusted leader. Everyone is going to lead something. You're going to lead a conversation. You're going to lead a team. You're going to lead a meeting. You're going to lead a negotiation. You're going to lead a crew. You're going to lead something along the way. And everyone has the opportunity, and we truly need everyone to step up and become a trusted leader. Now, how all this kind of came about to me was one Saturday I was sitting and I was writing and I was thinking about, man, what could I do if I could just wave my magic wand in the industry and create the kind of atmosphere we need in order for projects to be successful and for project teams to become really high functioning. And I realized it really was about, I would completely change the way we look at leadership. And so I developed this continuum of leadership. And if you look in the session notes, you can see this model. So I'll explain it a little bit as best as I can by talking to you. But think of a continuum, 2 ends, 2 poles. On one side of the pole is the continuum where you have a benevolent dictator as your leader. And in the construction industry, for about 100 years, we have been hiring a benevolent dictator to lead our projects and our programs, and a lot of times our organizations. And we teach people how to be this type of leader where you are going to drive the project, you're going to drive the crews, you're going to drive it home, you're going to make it happen. We're going to just take no prisoners and make it go. And everyone is going to do what they're supposed to do because that's what we need in order to be successful. And so if I'm on a project like this, say I get a job and I'm really happy to have a job. I have a 13-year-old who needs braces and I got to pay for these braces. So I'm on this job, but I'm not here for very long. And I'm already figuring out pretty quickly that I need to do what I'm told, because if I don't do what I'm told, I will be punished. There will be punishment involved. And I don't want to lose my job. I want to have my job, so I'm going to do whatever I'm told to do. And we actually did research on this, and we did research all the way out into the crews. And it was amazing how everyone knew what the punishment was for different things. And really, it doesn't take very long to know you're going to do what you're told or you're not going to be there. And so I'm on this job. I'm happy. I'm told to do something. And I'm going to do it, of course, because that's my job. But I feel like, I've been around for a while. I've been in the industry. I've worked on projects like this before. I have some real know-how. And I feel as though I'm not really being allowed to do what I think maybe is best. And so I feel, at least to some extent, as though I'm being coerced into doing what I'm supposed to do as opposed to what I think needs to be done, or what I would certainly do, or what I think is in the best interest of the project or the team. And so all of the people then that work for me begin to become coerced, because that becomes the norm on the team. Everyone else doing the bidding for the person who they work for. So coercion becomes how the team operates. You say jump, I say how high. Everybody just does what they're told to do when they're told to do it. Don't ask questions, just do it. And so after a while, the team sort of settles into this. And what begins to happen is that everyone just starts to comply. You tell me to do something, I'm going to do it. You tell me to do another thing, I'm going to do it. You tell me I need to tell somebody else to do something, I'm going to do it. So the team operates in a very compliant manner, which seems like everything is okay, copacetic, team's operating, it's good, we're rolling along. Teams like this will often tell me things like, weekly meetings? Why do we need weekly meetings? We don't have anything to say to each other. We don't talk. There's nothing to talk about, because teams like this don't openly share. They don't talk. They don't share problems. They don't share solutions. They talk at each other, perhaps, but most of the time, because you're in compliance mode, you're really not going to say anything. And so the communication is very stifled. Now, on every project, at some point, a big issue is going to pop up. And when that big issue pops up, this team of seasoned people see the issue. They understand the issue, and they do not respond because they are rigid. They are frozen. I think of it like if you were on the freeway and you saw a big truck coming towards you, you see the truck, you know it's probably going to hurt when it hits you, but nobody moves. You get hit and run over every single time. And this rigidity leads to the death of organizations and certainly the failure of the project. And this methodology, this way of looking at things, this mode of leadership is what has been happening in the industry for decades and decades. we did research on mega projects and looked at the forensic studies of these projects and what was it that created them to be deemed a failure. Because nobody does a forensic study on a good project. They do them on the projects they deem as failures. And the bigger the failure, the more pages of forensic study. And what we found is that on every single project that we looked at, and there was over a dozen, each project went down this path. The team knew what the problems were. The team would have been able to resolve them had they been able to get out of their own way to say there's a problem. No one talked up above to share information. If it did go up, no one listened to it. And even the craftspeople knew what the issues were. It wasn't like they didn't know, but they were unable to respond. And this is where our industry is set now for decades. We are the lowest performing industry, and that's been going on for about 50 years. We've got to change something. And so if I could wave my magic wand, as I was thinking about on this Saturday afternoon, I would have us move along the continuum to the other side of the continuum, to where your job as a leader is to be a trusted leader and to create an environment of high trust. And so if I'm on this job and I have a trusted leader, I have a job, I need the job, still got the same 13-year-old that needs braces, and I'm going to listen to my trusted leader, and I'm kind of feeling like, well, I don't know this person very well, been here a while, and I'm thinking, okay, I feel like I would be willing to trust. I'll step into that, and as a result of that, I feel like I am choosing to be a part of this team. I am choosing to follow this person, this leader, into the depths of what we're going to do as a team. And everyone on the team has that same feeling. And almost immediately, this begins to create cohesion, a sense of purpose, a sense of mission, a sense of togetherness. And that leads to creating the sense of commitment to our leader, commitment to our purpose of what we're going to do, our success. And I know that we've really got the team that we need in the place we need them when they start saying things like, we are committed to doing whatever it takes for this team to succeed, for this project to be exceptional. Now, you have created the atmosphere that allows for creativity to emerge. The construction industry for years started back in the 80s, and there's a really big push in the 60s also, but really in the construction in the 80s for total quality management, continuous improvement. Many times people went out and tried to figure out, how can we implement some of these things that other industries are implementing and having extraordinary success with, and it just went poof, flat in construction. The reason for that is because until you have created this atmosphere that allows for creativity to emerge, you cannot have continuous improvement. You cannot have those kind of processes work. It's like having your foot on the gas and the brake at the same time. And we tried to implement programs like that. We still do. You've got to take your foot off the brake if you want to put it on the gas. And so we've created creativity, and this team is creating solutions to problems. They're creating new ways of looking at things. They may innovate different things, which leads to the overall improvement of the project and maybe even of the entire industry, because they come up with things that never have been done before. And this leads to the growth of the individuals, everyone on the team, and the entire industry. We don't have now we do because we have a lot of things happening in test kitchens, more or less, where we have robotics and things like that. But the things day to day out in the fields happen, the innovations happen in the field. And even with the new technologies, the innovations happen in the field. People go out and test and see what works and what doesn't work and how can they take it to the next level. We have to have trusted leaders. We have to create an atmosphere of high trust. And I hope that all of you will try to become that trusted leader and encourage your people to take that leadership role, that trusted leader role. It is essential for the longevity of construction and for us to improve. And a lot of times the innovations aren't big. They might be something small. I remember a team that was so excited. I came to the partnering session, and when I walked in, they said, "Oh my God, so you've got to come see what we've done." And this was a team that was working in a fairly remote area where it was very long drive, hard to communicate. And this was when we didn't have as many cell phone towers and things like that. They had a few things, but innovation was just starting to happen in that area. And they had created, the RE had created in his truck, in the passenger side, he'd taken one of those stadium seats and he turned it upside down. And on the top of the seat, he had his laptop, and underneath it, he had one of those all-in-one printers, so he could print anything he wanted. And it also had Wi-Fi, so he could send it off from his hotspot that he had. And at the bottom, he had a power source. And then they would hold their meetings in the front of the truck where he had his hotspot, and they could just point to the printer and it would print and fax things off and send things. Now, this was a team that had struggled the year before in trying to communicate and keep up with the paperwork. And here, just by the end of their meetings, they had it all done and they sent it off. They were so excited about this. It wasn't a big thing, but it was a big thing to them. And so innovations don't have to be huge things. It can be small things. A lot of little things add up. And also the team has that mode of creativity. Have you ever felt that mode where you're creating something, you've created something new and different? There's a lot of energy in that. So I hope that you will work towards creating more on that level of trusted leadership. And here are 4 steps to help you get started and some thoughts for you so that you can begin to start thinking about that. So step 1 is stop managing and start leading. I said we were going to talk about this again. But stop managing your team and your projects and start leading them. Managing deals with a transaction. We create a schedule, we develop minutes, we order materials, we delegate tasks. These transactions are what we do, but they are not what makes your team succeed or fail. They are the tasks of the job, which is far too often where we focus and stay focused. We really want to lead, and that deals with transformation. Leading engages people so they become what the team needs and not just a task performer. By focusing on transactions instead of focusing on transforming mindsets and behaviors, you really are undermining your team's potential, along with your ability to teach your people how to be successful on a team. Being is always more powerful than doing. By focusing on developing a mindset and behavior required for success, you'll be heading in the right direction. Over time, the right atmosphere and attitude always equates to success. Step number 2. Drive out fear. Some people feel that with authority, they can make people follow. When you make someone do something through coercion, you can't help but create fear. As stated before, if fear is in the underlying motivation you don't have leadership, because no one will volunteer to follow you if they are fearful. Fear and trust cannot coexist. I don't know a lot of things in my life for absolute true, but that is one of the truths I know for sure. Fear and trust cannot coexist. They are mutually exclusive. By definition, in order for leadership to exist, there must be high levels of trust. So as a leader, you must constantly be looking for where fear exists. Even small pockets of fear can undermine the trust required for success. To combat fear, you must create an atmosphere that allows for a dialogue to occur. I always think of a dialogue as sort of a special kind of conversation, and it's where you listen more than you talk. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and you really talk to each other to listen, to understand. And when you have a dialogue, you really do combat the fear so that you get to the truth that people actually have in their mind. So people can have differences, and it doesn't mean someone has to be right or wrong. It's just different. And far too often we have these conversations about, no, it's this way, and you're trying to convince the other person you're right and they're wrong. And this creates a huge amount of conflict, but it also makes people fearful that we're not going to solve issues, we're not going to be able to talk to each other, we're not going to be able to work together in an effective way. Only when you actually allow truth to surface in a safe manner, then you can deal with the issues and work to understand, and that's the cause of fear. Step 3 is build trust. We've asked everyone on projects, on dozens of projects, to tell us the level of trust they have on their team. There was never more than 1/2 of a point difference between the responses. Everyone on a team knows how much trust exists within the team. Trust is really your critical path to success. So monitor the level of trust within your team and work to improve it. You can do this with a monthly scorecard that measures the level of trust and teamwork. That's what we do on every single project where we conduct partnering. You can tell very quickly exactly what's going on with the team and how many issues are really just different issues, or is it really about personalities or conflict or the atmosphere? You can tell very quickly from a scorecard. We often also measure about budgets, production, output, schedule. So why not measure the level of trust, and your team will know how well it's working together every single month. Step 4, don't let the past predict your future. Many times we just can't let go of something that's occurred in the past, and it keeps playing out in our own minds, and we begin to project it into the future. Your mind is like a great projector. You see something that happened in the past, you feel that the impact of that, and you just continue to project it into the present and out into the future. So this projection of our own mind often is what is a great predictor of what's going to actually happen, because we're making it happen. As a trusted leader, you must not allow the past to predict your future. Far too often, you create a very negative outcome, when in fact, if you could block that and not let that projection occur, you could create a strong, positive vision for your team that could overcome past problems or issues or failures. Trust, or the lack of trust, is evident to everyone in a team. Part of creating a high trust culture is looking at the level of trust in the policies and transactions that you have within your team and within your organization. This is most evident in the transactions you have with outsiders. Look at a sample contract. Is there fear built in? Are there pages and pages of boilerplate language trying to manage every potential risk, no matter how long a contract is? You are never going to cover all of the potential contingencies that are going to happen. You simply cannot replace trust. Look at what exists and don't let that, what has occurred in the past, decide the future of your team and of your project. Just keep moving forward towards the trusted leader side of the continuum. It can allow you to really become that trusted leader that you strive to be. And I want you to produce consistent, great results. That's what we've seen happen when people really get into the flow of creating high trust cultures. Just remember, Construction Nation, that this is a journey and not a destination. But it's really a journey that is worth taking. So I hope that you will look at the model and think about it, what you can do to improve the level of trust on your project and leading that, creating that atmosphere on your project. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that, as always, you will remember that construction teams don't just happen. They're built one step at a time. So why not send out this episode to your entire team and build more trusted leaders? The faster you can build your construction dream team, the faster you can have your dream. I hope that you will head on over to constructiondreamteam.com and go to the resources page where you can download and print one of our posters for the Construction Dream Team podcast that you can put up in your project trailer or your office. And if you take a photo of your team with the poster and email it to me at sue@constructiondreamteam.com, you will be entered into a contest each month to win a team lunch. Who wouldn't like a free lunch? So head on over there to constructiondreamteam.com, resources page, take the poster, take a picture, send it to me, and you may be having a luscious lunch this month. And I hope that you will also subscribe to Construction Dream Team. We are on most all of the different outlets for podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, etc. And we launch every Monday at 4 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, a new podcast with a new interview with one of the leaders or thought leaders and experts. And so please join me next week on Monday when I will interview another expert, and you will be able to learn more about how you can create your construction dream team. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll catch you next time.